All right, Aimee, we're going to talk about what psychic actually is because the media has told us a story about what psychic is. I think we all have an idea what we think it is, but let's hear it from a real live psychic. What
Full
is
timer.
psychic?
hmm Get some coffee down the hatch here. What is psychic, you guys? Okay. I mean, I think where I'm going to start is technically, like, it is reading energy or perceiving energy or receiving and processing information or energy through the crown chakra. So, always one of the best examples is like mom. You know how mom just would always know. I remember my friend and I were maybe 14 or something, and right, full disclosure, we got a hold of a little bit of smoke, a little bit of weed, right, or something, and we were so, we couldn't believe it had happened. And we wrapped it all up and we hid it under the thing and under the bed. Like, I mean, this thing was Fort Knox hidden. I mean, we thought it through. And that mom don't ever come in that bedroom. She was on that like a hawk on a mouse, dude. She was on us so quick and so fast. So it's just probably, I don't know if it's an appropriate example, but it's just so, it's ingrained in my brain where I'm like, moms, no, stop. You just can't. I don't know. I could never sneak nothing by my mom, her mom. We could never sneak anything by her. And we weren't even that, it was just like nothing. So psychic for me is like, you just know, you just friggin' know, you just
Yeah.
know. It just hits you and you just know. So that's like a basic running around kind of definition, just like what it looks like in daily life. And like that, if you have a crown chakra, you're receiving information through it. And not to make it chakras class, but to speak to chakras, each chakra or energy slash information processing center, that seems to be what they are, processes a different type of information. So the first chakra, which is way down at the base, processes survival information, body information, like animal, like, survival information. Second chakra is emotional information, like on and on, sexual information. Third chakra is like power, willpower, like, so not to make it chakras class, but to just to say that these upper chakras that we read with are information processing centers. So off the jump, psychic for me is simply and essentially only that you received it through your crown chakra, and the sensation or the experience is that you just know it. It just kind of hit you. It just kind of occurred to you. You just friggin' know it. So, in a most basic way, psychic is just using the seventh chakra to process information, and the experience is something like, "Oh, I just knew it. I don't know how I knew it. I just know it." So that's be like how we
Right.
would start.
Great. And a lot of people, when they think of psychic or why they're afraid to speak to a psychic, is they're so afraid that someone's going to read their future and tell them the day they're going to die. Or like the media gives us all this information of what they think like a psychic or like a witch is. Can we talk a little bit about like reading the future?
Mm-hmm,
Is this
mm-hmm.
something you do? Is this something I know the answer to this, but how would you explain that?
Yeah. Well, and I will say that there's a lot of different I'm very specific, like every, like, say professional psychic or person who is psychic, it's wildly different for each person. So that's just,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's like an artist. All art, they're
Yeah.
wildly different from each other. So for what it's worth, I'm just going to speak to what my experience is. And also, so reading the future is called prophetic, right? And it's not really that much of my bag. In my world, I'm like, that shit's a trap. It's
Yeah.
hokey. I could tell you, you're gonna meet a man in 12 days. That's what everybody wants. Like, they want, like, but what's funny is that since you can change that information. So you're given the information, and some set stuff might be set in stone. Like, no matter what, this is when you're going to die. No matter what, this is the kid you're going to have. It does seem to be that there's certain things, but most of it is a bunch of choice. Most of it is you guys are making decisions, 1 million of them each day. And so is every other person. And so it's kind of like the future is always changing based on the present. So I just will say that I've seen readers who are more prophetic, and they will call out future events, and then those future events do happen. That is a
Mhm.
way to read. That is an aspect of psychicness. That's not my, I don't want to know the future. I'm deeply committed to the present time. And that was what my training was in. So reading the future is a very small percentage of psychics out there. And it's a very specialized skill. And also, I think it begs a larger question, like, do you really want to know your future? Because honestly, most people don't. They think they do.
Yeah.
They think they do, maybe
Yeah.
to avoid fear, to try and be more profitable. Like, why do we want to know the future? It winds up being fear based, is where that question is coming
Absolutely.
from. So, oftentimes, and I've seen this, people will get information that they didn't want to fucking know. And now they're stuck with
Mhm.
it. And so, this
Mhm.
concept of future, whether it relates to psychic or whether it just relates to each individual's obsession with thinking about the future all the fucking time, that goes back to, you need to get in your body, you need to get in present time, and you need to deal with your fear. And a psychic reading, somebody knowing your future, will never under any circumstances absolve you of your fear. And you also will not ever be able to avoid the path you're going to have to walk to get there. Just read the fucking
Yeah.
Alchemist. He got the psychic impression of there's treasure under the, I'm gonna just be weird here, and I'm sure people know the Alchemist. If not, go read it. It's a good one. Right? He had a dream. He had an occurrence. It occurred to him. He got the information. There's treasure under the pyramids. So the whole story, he goes on this long trek to get his treasure, only to wind up right back where he had the fucking dream, and the treasure was under that tree that he was sleeping on that very night. So we're not going to avoid life. You're not going to avoid your lessons. You're
Yeah.
not going to avoid walking your path by getting future information. And I think
Mm.
that's probably a lot of what people are desiring. Last thing I'll say
Exactly.
about the future is, it's not really, my belief system, which is a questionable thing, meaning, like I was saying before we got started, the Bible talks about, it's only for God to know the future. I think that's a lot of where religions get fussy about this psychic thing, is they're like, it's only,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to read the future. That's only for God to know. I fucking agree. I don't really agree with religions. That's man-made belief systems that is all trash and needs to be thrown in the garbage right now, and stop murdering people on behalf of it. Stop bastardizing your family on behalf of it. Anyway, that's our next podcast. But I think I think that's where psychic gets a lot of heat, is from religious
Yeah.
belief systems that just really don't understand what's actually the functionality of psychic, which is reading energy in present time, and reestablishing the connection with vital life force energy. There, we are alive. There's a source of energy that's making our heart beat, and we have all of us have that in common. They talk about in training, my teacher in my training talked about this concept of a guru, where man or religion or belief systems will get in between the source of energy that's coming down from the fucking stars and the cosmos. I mean, this shit is alive, like energy. So our belief systems will get in between our connection with just pure neutral vital life force energy. And pure vital life force energy gives you information in order to survive. It's built into
Mm.
having a body. That's why you have a seventh chakra, so that you can get information about how to survive, about how to live in this body. Psychic information doesn't often tell you about the future. It usually tells you about the fucking now, right? But our
Yeah.
belief systems get in the way of receiving that information.
Mm. So then is everyone psychic? Does everyone have this ability?
To a varying degree. And thank you for that question,
Mm.
because our training said everybody can do all of these things. You go to clairvoyant class and it's just cute. I wasn't even trying to be a professional. It was cute. It's like, oh, read a rose. Oh, look at it. Practice this tool, practice that tool. It's just cute or whatever. So the premise was, and my teacher said directly, everybody can do this. I had to
Mm.
learn over time that we have different propensities. I am quite clairvoyant. Like, I am heavy clairvoyant. Everything is a color to me. I see. We're like, I'm not very good of a medium. I'm not going to have your old dead Aunt Teresa in my body talking to you like that's, I don't run that way. So Is everybody psychic? Yes. My little silly joke is I'm like, well, I've never seen anybody walking around without the top of their head. You know what I mean? Like just sawed off. Like you have a seventh chakra. So theoretically, you can receive information, process information through that seventh chakra. Given that, yes, that, but how powerful that muscle is, how clear that channel is, those are where the factors come in. So theoretically,
Yeah.
yes, you know, practically, no, it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah. And maybe we've talked about this either here or on my podcast, but what was the first moment in your life where you felt like you were psychic? Or maybe you didn't have the words for that yet, but, or maybe like an occurrence, maybe probably when you were little, that it was like, do you have a first memory of being like, okay, maybe I'm this a little different?
I guess now that you ask it, and it's a little bit embarrassing to share, but it is very viscerally true. Just going to keep my little sentimental emotions at bay here. I never know what questions she's going to ask you guys. So for what it's worth, this is not scripted for what it's worth. I'm all, yes, it was a really beautiful moment. So I do have that.
Oh, yeah.
And in my childhood bedroom, my sister and I shared a relatively small bedroom. And there was these double closet doors. So, oh gosh, bear with me, you guys. I'm feeling it. My personal experience was, and of course I didn't know at the time, it was years and years later I reflected being like, yeah, that's what I used to do all the time. Is it would be like, this sounds embarrassing, but okay, get through it, thank you guys. So Jesus would be on one side and then Buddha would be on the other. So we had these double doors. So Jesus would sit there in like this blue light, and then Buddha would sit there in like a more like grounded, earthy kind of light, like a brown light, but like earthy, so it'd be like, oh. So I would just sit there and chat with Jesus and Buddha or whatever those guys are, some metaphor of an ascended master. I don't know, some beings without
Yeah.
bodies. I don't know. That is yet another podcast. Like some of those
Yeah.
ascended masters, beings, guides kind of conversation. But
Mm.
that was my experience. And I realized I was more of a introverted child or youngster, I'm more in my imagination. I'm more in my daydreaming. I remember my mom being like, I would just must stare off and daydream all the time because I just remember them being like, "Can you come back to Earth so we can like go to the grocery store or something?" I don't know, right? And so I just know I remember. So that's probably I think my first one. Clearly, I was not neutral on that. See what it's like to not have neutral information where I'm like emotional and I'm sentimental and I'm attached to it. I remember them. I love them. Like so. Just for a fun side note, this is what it looks like to not be neutral. I had to hold tears back at the fucking beauty and grace of that shit. And that's where I remember my first like very visceral and
Mm.
active and consistent experience with I don't know
Wow.
otherworldly information. I don't know.
Yeah, and as a child, like, I'm just, I'm sure, maybe that's not super common, but I'm sure it does happen to children. And did you feel like, oh, this is normal? Or did you feel like, okay, maybe not everyone's talking to Buddha and Jesus, like when they
Not
go to
one
sleep
time
at
did I
night?
think that. I didn't question it even a
Yeah.
little bit. It was, I mean, no, I think it was probably also must have been getting me through some things that were
Yeah.
otherwise happening that I was also unaware of because I'm fucking 8 or some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it was only in hindsight. Like it was so consistent. And right now, as I sit 43, I can see it so clear. I can remember the
Mm,
smell in the room. Like it's very, but I
mm,
don't know that I knew it
mm,
was happening at the time. I don't know if it was some broken. I was just like, this is just what happened like on Thursday when I was getting ready for school or
mm.
something. So
Yeah.
no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I even knew it was happening. I certainly didn't think it was different. There were some other indications I was different, but that was more academic. It would be more when I went out into the public and they were like, she's different. But no, I didn't think that on
Hmm.
my own.
It's so interesting. And then, as the story goes, then you kind of, become an adult and you have your career and then you do the psychic reading and the psychic says like you're you're also psychic. Did you sort of lose some of that like childhood kind of magic, or was that still sort of with you? So when the psychic the story sort of famously goes, I think you've told it a few times, of like you had a reading and someone was like, "Hey, this is what you need to be doing." Did it feel like, yeah, you're right? Or was it like, how did that feel for you?
Mhm. Great question. And here's how I'm going to answer it. No, here's what I noticed, you guys. I remember when I was 19 years old. I remember this moment. I was walking like from my home to my car and we passed over this gate. I'm just saying this is right where I was, like passing through this gate. All of a sudden, I got afraid of sharks. This just bear with me. I got hit with this like terror of sharks, right? I was always an ocean baby. Like I remember my mother would take me to the ocean. We live in San Diego. We go to the beach all the fucking time, right? So and I would stay in the water for hours. And I had my little boogie board or sometimes not. And I remember being young, little, fucking
Mhm.
and I would find the last surfer, get a load of this as an adult. It's crazy. I would never do this today, right? And this is where this is going. I would find the farthest out surfer and I'd want to go farther than him or her, him. Right. At the time
Mm.
it was only boys, but so that's how brave I was when I was little. That's how I didn't fucking care. I didn't think I was loving it. I'd stay out there till I was pruned. And God bless my mother, right? So as you're in the ocean all these hours, you drift, right? You drift. So she would just stand on the shore and just follow me up the beach. I feel like it must have been an hour, 2 hours at a time, as far as I can remember. Who knows, right? So then when I'd finally come out, Mom, all pruned and excited, we would walk all the way back down the beach to where our actual shit was, right? So why I'm saying this is because I remember the fear settling in. I knew I wasn't afraid of sharks. I knew I wasn't afraid of the ocean. I had a lot of experience. I'm walking through this threshold at my house and I'm like, I'm afraid of sharks, terrified of sharks, right? So these fears tend to settle in. I remember getting more afraid as I got older of shit I was never afraid
Yeah.
of. So then fast forward to 24, 25 when I get my first reading and she goes, "Oh, honey, you're a clairvoyant healer." No, man, I had a disconnect. I did not, that was not some just
Mm.
like thread that had moved through because apparently as we get older, these fears settle in and take hold and take space and to cut us off from that fucking
Mm.
oneness. I wasn't afraid of the shark. I'm going with
Yeah.
the sharks. Those sharks are happy I'm there. I was happy to be there with them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I was obsessed with sharks when I was little. So it's funny to be afraid of them all of a sudden. And I just
Mm.
happened to remember the moment. So kind of a weird way to tell that story, but that's what was my personal experience where I was like, fuck, I'm getting more afraid every day that passes. And it wasn't like I was
Yeah.
watching some weird shark documentary. It just fucking happened. It just settled in. So I was keen to, oh boy. And then you go to work. You're afraid, so you go get a job. You're afraid, so you go work. You're afraid, so you shut the fuck up and you go earn money and you get likable. So no, it was shocking when she said that to me. It shocked me to my core. I
Wow.
burst into tears
Yeah.
immediately and
Yeah.
it took me several months to process. So had a childhood
Interesting.
experience that was very visceral, very psychic, very alive, very
Mm.
clairvoyant, very colorful. Got afraid, got afraid, got afraid. Then I had to begin the journey of getting unafraid at that point.
Yeah. That was sort of my next question is like, so in those months of kind of that shocking sort of someone seeing you like that, and then you're training to become a psychic. So it's like you're learning this information at the same time unlearning so much of the fear. And then is there a moment where you kind of settle back into like that 8-year-old Aimee? Like was there a moment of like the sort of homecoming of your own psychic ability?
Any second, any day now, I think is
Yeah. Yeah.
probably more accurate. I'm close. I can feel
Yeah.
it. I'm close, and I've gone through a
Yeah.
lot. Like worked a lot
Mm.
of fears, faced a lot of like trauma, whatever. Right. But yeah, that innocence is very challenging to recapture. We know too
Mhm.
much, right? Now I've got my feelings hurt. Now I've got
Totally.
my heart broken. Now I've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
disappointed. Now I've like had to pay bills in the patriarch. Now I've seen the plastic trash island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Like so
Yeah.
like I said, any day now. And I pray. Since we're talking about me in particular, I have this thing about me where I'm naive. Like there's certain things I just
Yeah.
don't. I'm very naive about. I'm all, wait, what? That's what was
Yeah.
happening. Like wait, they
Yeah.
lied. I am so psychic. I read all day, every day, and I'm always accurate. Okay. It's not hubris. I'm beholden to it. I charge money. It needs to be accurate. That's a standard. It's like you have a plumber come over, you don't have the plumber leave the toilet clogged. I'm beholden to accuracy. It's my business, right?
Yeah.
With that
Yeah.
said, you could lie right to my stupid fucking dumb face any day of the week, and I probably won't
Yeah.
know unless I dream about it, or unless it'll occur to me later, or my friends will be like, I'm all, oh, what? So for me personally, I think I just had that duality and I crave to keep it. I like my innocence. I want my naivete. And
Yeah.
I think I would be, I just don't think I'd be a great healer without it. I would still be psychic as fucking clairvoyant as fuck. You can call me and ask me any question and we're going to be accurate. That's a given. I would be a, I would be such a different healer without that innocence and without that naivete. I'd be
Yeah.
probably a gnarly bitch. It'd be too much. You know, the
Yeah.
truth is something you have to like handle with care. So
Mm.
that
Mm.
childlikeness, not childish. Osho speaks about childlike, being childlike. So that's a sweet spot there with the
Yeah.
juxtaposition of, say, the wisdom of having been in a body for a
Mm.
certain number of
Mm.
decades.
Yeah. And when you're reading, like you do all of your readings on a phone now. And so it's interesting. So you're on the phone and you are asking a name 3 times. And and your eyes are closed, I think. Or maybe are your eyes closed when you're reading?
Not when I'm
Sometimes.
not in person. Yeah. I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
There's two things. So this is where I'm reading from. But yeah, I don't technically because I don't need to anymore.
Yeah. And so what's happening in that moment? Someone is saying their name
Mm.
and then are you seeing a picture in your head or it's like a internal visual that's the clairvoyance or it's not in your body, right? Like you're not feeling it but you're seeing it. Is that correct?
That is correct. So, different chakras have different functions as we've established. So, in the training, you never want to read with anything south of the fifth chakra. It's all
Hmm.
telepathy,
Yeah.
clairvoyance, and I forget what the clair word for is for the psychic knowingness. There's a clair word I can't
Mhm.
remember, like clair sentient, clair audio.
Mhm.
I don't know. You guys know better. But so yeah, so feeling is not what happens. And in fact, now that you mention it, when I do first start, every single time I do close my eyes in the beginning. You know, it's a
Mhm.
skill to read with your eyes open. It takes you got to exercise this
Yeah.
muscle. So at first, and certainly in person, imagine, I mean, I don't know, it's awkward. It's like closing your eyes in person is definitely the training was definitely like you would never do a
Yeah.
different thing than that. So it's true. I still go old school when you guys say your full name 3 times. Also, it's so much easier. Like, oh, it's so much easier to see things this way than this way. It honestly is easier,
Yeah.
certainly at this
Yeah.
point. So, yeah, so they give me their full name 3 times, which again is the training. And then, yeah, an image appears, a scene
Mm.
or an image. And I say an image because some of it like isn't moving. A scene because by the third revolution of their name, things have transpired on the reading screen.
Um,
Like things have happened. There's all kinds of stuff that colors and images and metaphors and so yeah, it's very much like a movie in there, meaning like action and players and colors and yeah, stuff going on.
mm.
Hmm.
And for those of you that are interested, there's 2 classes that we've done on this. One is reading your rose and the other is meeting your spirit guide. And so these are the tools that you're using, but you're so polished at this that I'm sure it's all sort of happening like at once. Like when we did the meditation, George and I, like it's slow and we're okay, there's the rose and we're trying to read it. But for you it feels like it's just happening instantaneously and then you're kind of like trying to you do put just words to what you're seeing, which I would think is really challenging because you always say like there's like not enough words for how this is like going down, but then you have to in your job figure out how to verbalize what you're actually seeing, which must be crazy.
That I think is probably where uniqueness comes in, is my
Yeah.
interpretation or the words I use or the
Yes.
cadence I use or my style or
Yeah.
whatever. That probably is the like sort of factor why one may or may not want to come work with me, is my interpretation of what they're presenting. So they're presenting
Mm.
something. See, I'm not like you're this, you're this, you're this. They're like, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. See, there's like they're presenting me with something, and I go, well, I don't know, broad.
Mm.
Here is how the fuck you showed up. So like here's how you showed up. And with that said, too, people are gonna show what they want to be dealt with that day. So maybe,
Yeah.
right, I've read somebody, I don't know, 100 times maybe. And each time you see it's like always there's something there that maybe, so they're presenting something. And then, my favorite thing is when they'll just be honest that they have a question. A lot of times, like sometimes people will come in and be like, well, I don't know. What do you see? Let me make you
Right.
earn it. You have to prove something. I'm like, whatever, fine. Here's what the fuck I see. You know what I mean? So six of one, half dozen
Yeah.
of the other. My favorite is the dance where I'm like, I got you here on the screen. You've presented yourself some way, right? And what do you want to talk about? And most people they're locked and loaded because they're calling for a reason, obviously. It's like I said, so that's the fun dance. As soon like I got this whole thing here, and yeah, it's a muscle. So you get, and plus once you've done 25,000 of them or something, you kind of are like, I've seen this before, or that's not accurate, but it's like, yeah, that muscle where you just can know a lot in a nanosecond, that does increase, where you can know so much in just an immeasurable amount of time, like so small amount of time. Then when they
Mhm.
ask their question, I'm like, sit the fuck back. So when they ask that question, because here's what's important about psychic readings or whatever, this process is that it's not, for me personally, I'm not speaking on behalf of other psychics. I'm only speaking to my experience.
Yeah.
I don't go to most psychics.
Yeah.
I don't find it, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't find it up to where I would like to be read at. So, some people will be like, I just want to know what you see. No, I'll get after that all day. I'll talk the first 20 fucking minutes if they want me to on what I see, on what showed up. And of course it
Yeah.
leads into what they were going to ask. So, you can see it's very varietal. Forgive me. I'm like in my clairvoyant space being like, yeah, what is it like? Oh, it's like this, it's like that. So my favorite going back to is when they just ask their goddamn question and I'm like, okie doke. Then you see it's more like sit back for a while because I have a bunch of shit I need to tell you because
Yeah.
it's coming through the channel. The clairvoyant for me, the sixth chakra, the image is my focal point. So I'll keep this focal
Mm.
point right there. Focus on this focal point, right? And don't let the mind wander. Don't let the awareness wander. You say deeply penetratively focus on this visual that you get when their first name when their name
Mm.
pops up. Then where all the chakras are processing information. So then I think I get highly psychic where I'm just kind of like saying focus on that original rose or that original image that he presented, and then shit just is flowing. I'm all, oh, heard this occurred to me. So it becomes a combination of just the three upper chakras processing
Yeah.
information.
Wow. Wow. And it's just wild because there is seemingly so much going on between those three centers, but then you're just like in this steady stream of consciousness and the words are just flowing. Like a lot of what happens when you call Aimee is like you just have to have your pen and paper ready because you're just listening. You're just
You got
like
to keep
trying to
up.
capture
Yeah, you got to
everything
keep up.
that's coming out because it's such a steady channel, right? And we talk a little bit about it, and I think everyone needs to go watch this class, Spirit Guide, because I think in that one I ask like, who are the guides? Like, what are the guides? You refer to the guides, but in my understanding, it's just like it's just the consciousness is just sort of moving through. It's not like okay, does Allie have certain guides you're speaking to, or is it your specific guides, or is it just sort of the representation of all life? Like how
Mhm.
would you explain that?
Yeah, and I know we do touch on this in some of so not to be too
Mm,
repetitive, but yeah, man, like at first, maybe it
yeah.
was class like in my training, I'm gonna guess class 3, where I got what they call a healing master. So you sit down, you go into clairvoyant class, my teacher runs me through a meditation and goes, okay, today we're going to meet a guide. It's called the healing master. It helps you do your healing work. Okay, great. So I got this guy pop in. So I had a guy, his name was Shiva. He was like a Shiva, who was a Shiva kind. In hindsight, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Native American man named Shiva was my first guide, or Shivan, but Shiva. See, bear with me. It's so funny. It's so funny being in that space. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's very lively, very colorful. A lot happens in there. So at first, it's a guide. You get this like idea of a person, of a body, of something you can recognize, of a person like you can talk to, just like you and I are talking. At first, I think that's
Yeah.
why it's set up because it's not too ethereal. It's functional. They have a name, they have an image, or they have a personality. You're like, what's up, buddy? I see you. But really quickly, and I actually had to ask my teacher because early in my training, when I was still doing one-on-ones, like every Saturday afternoon, I'd go in for my fucking clairvoyant training while running a real estate business, just saying this is just normal shit. But he just wasn't there one day. So we go through the same routine of like, oh, opening meditation, and he was way out in the periphery. And I go, what's happening? So what happened really quickly for me was I didn't need that container called like this dude in a body with an identity system and recognizable. Pretty soon it just became what I describe as the collective consciousness. What it
Yeah.
sounds like to me is like every voice that has ever existed shining in gold comes down to this one funnel of gold energy in one voice, but there's trillions endless voices. But it's only one voice. So that's just that's
Mm,
my
mm,
best way I can describe it. So I call it guides just because it's, I don't know, because it ain't, number one, I'm not trying to say this is Aimee telling. I wouldn't,
mm.
I don't know. We go out for fucking burgers or beers or some shit. I'm not going to be able to tell you the same information. It's very distinctly
Yeah.
different. It's not my personality. It's not my belief system. It is not coming from me. And I would feel like a punk ass bitch suggesting that it did. People probably do try
Yeah.
and take credit for that. That is not my bag and that is not accurate. It comes from something
Mm.
that you plug into. And to read properly, there's a lot of steps that go into this. You got to be grounded in the center of the planet, meaning anchored and present in your body. You got to be neutral. There's like a set of steps. This isn't just like, I'm like, oh, I'm getting gas and I'll read you. These days I can, but that's just because of 2 decades of doing this crap. So this
Yeah.
amazing, unmatched work. It's not crap. It's the best
Mhm,
work I've ever seen out of anybody on all the planets. And that's not about me. It's about the truth. So it's a collective
mhm.
consciousness. It's the oneness. And we're all, again, we just, I don't, everybody has different beliefs about God or religion or shoulds and shouldn'ts, rights and wrongs, ethics and morals. Right. We get it. We have different belief systems. We get it. But everybody's fucking heart is beating right now. Everyone's alive right now. If you're hearing this, you're alive. And so there is that's communal. That's oneness. There's one thing that makes us all alive. We'll run that one thing called vital life force energy through the sieve of our own fucking belief systems, through the sieve of our own ego. We'll block it up, we'll cinch it, we'll morph it, we'll manipulate it. In its original form, it's just the one thing called vital life force energy. And so
Yeah.
that seems to be where the information comes from. I mean, it knows how to keep us alive and knew how to make the body. Life seems to know about life. I certainly don't. So I think that's best way I could describe it is
Mhm.
it's a collective consciousness. It's the oneness, and it ain't different for nobody. I can read anybody because of this thing in common that we all have.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's so cool. It's to me, it's just like the most fascinating thing to be. I mean, I love to have sessions because I love to learn about myself and my life, but I also like it's so cool just to feel the channel. Like it really is just like it is Aimee because of the way you articulate it. Like it has the Amyisms of the cadence and the language and but the information feels so is so universal. So it is sort of like this really cool blend to experience.
It is. The
Um,
delivery is everything, and it's
the
reminding me.
delivery.
I know you. I know you usually ask and then I answer, but it's reminding me of one of my most special clients. I mean, I love everybody so much. That's one thing is when you're in the oneness and the collective, you can feel how, like,
Mm.
we know, like, I'll meet somebody for the first time and I'll read them, and by the time we're done with 30 or 60 minutes, we like love each other. I'm like, I love you. They're like, I love you. We just met. We're never gonna meet in person. I don't know these fucking people. You know what I mean? Like, I have 20 Megans I read. I don't fucking know, dude. Like, sorry, Megans. Sorry, Jennifer's. There's a lot of you. I don't remember, but then I do. I don't remember, but you can.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying, it creates that instant rapport, that instant intimacy, in so many
Yeah.
times. It's like I love you,
Yeah.
and so this example that popped up for me is like, a man I read like way back when I was in the city. So I don't know, man, 15 years ago, say 12 years ago, something like that. And he comes in, sits down in my shop in the city, like an actual face to face, and we read, right? I don't fucking remember this guy. I do a million of these. I probably did 6 or 8 that day. I don't, like, whatever. Hopefully I did my job extremely well. And that's all. And so he leaves. Years go by, 8 years go by, and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you remember me. You read me 8 years ago." And apparently he had two women. I don't remember this, but he told me. He said, "I asked you about two different women and which one I should like go with, you know?" And apparently I said this one. I don't know, woman A. I don't fucking remember. He remembers. Well, he went with woman B because that's often the case, right? So he comes and pays me, sits down, takes a risk on sitting down with a fucking wild ass chick like me. It's A all day. You ask me, go A all day, depending on your goals. But marries B. Calls me 8 years later. Is like, should have married A, right? And so he booked another appointment. So we read. He goes, "Fuck!" And here's where I'm going with this, like with regard to what is psychic. Is he goes, "That is exactly a lot of the stuff I said 8 years ago. I said again." And that is a standard. It needs to be mathematical. It cannot be erroneous. It's like, and so
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about that because that's the standard I hold myself to. That's the standard my training held me to. And my teacher, I think, was quite meticulous. I mean, she really held us to a tight standard. There was no hand grenades and horseshoes. We ain't doing close enough. You need to fucking nail it or get out of the business. Nail it or make it some shit you do at your friend's birthday party. Don't be a pro at
Right.
it if you can't nail it. That just was my particular training. And I think who I am as a person, that is my standard, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just for information, it needs to be that way. When he came back 8 years
Mhm.
later, it was like, you said the same exact shit. That's what I
Mhm.
would expect.
Yeah.
And people take it in their time, do it. I don't care what people do or don't do. That's not my job. My job is to
Yeah.
answer the questions to the highest accuracy possible and to be beholden to that information. I never get people coming back being like, "That was wrong. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable to me." I'm
Mhm.
not speaking for other
Mm.
people. I'm saying to a psychic standard, and especially given the erroneous connotations around the word psychic, around the idea psychic, man, I mean, I feel like I'm extra beholden to provable scientific long standing accuracy, and indeed that does happen.
Mm. Yeah, and it's not like in those 8 years between those 2 readings, you were, like, sitting there thinking about that man, like, you probably forgot he existed, like, often I'll be like, "Oh, Amy, yeah, my friend came to see you," and you're just like, "Who?" Like, like, it's so funny, you have no idea, but then when you get into the reading, it's like all of a sudden all the information is available again. I think that's kind of the coolest part because 'cause you're kinda like, "I don't know you," and then you switch over into into the you're in the zone and all of a sudden like the amount of times like you'll pull like the most random like maybe I said my mom's name one time. Her name is Loris and everyone calls her Lori. Like it's like no one even knows her name is Loris. And I remember like 2 years later you're just like and then Loris. And I'm like how the hell do you know this woman's name? Like it's just wild what comes through.
Mhm.
You know, this it always just sort of blows my mind. It's like all of a sudden you tap into like all information that's ever existed that now becomes available to you.
That's a
That's what
great
it
way.
is.
No, it's so true. And it's funny. I remember some of those where it's like, I saw it on the reading screen. I would never who could know? I never even heard the name Loris ever. Have you
No,
ever heard
no
that
one
name
has that
twice?
name.
I haven't. I don't know. So it's true. That's why it's like, that's what I mean. Aimee as a person, I'm just like, let's go drive a truck. Let's go. I don't know, eat some meat. I don't know. Like, I'm very like, I'm not that interested. I don't do research. You ain't going to catch me asking no questions. I just want to exist. I just want to be happy. I'm a Pisces. I'm sensitive. I'm psychic. I'm sensitive. So I'm mostly trying to manage, just like hope I feel good and happy and amazing that day is my number one goal. Ascertaining information I find to be a racket. I
Yeah.
don't have the drive for that, which I think makes me an excellent psychic because I don't fucking care or know. And I don't have all these.
Yeah.
It's funny because I thought maybe
Yeah.
I should go be, I have like interests. It's like maybe I want to be, I've even had that idea. It's like I could go to college as a 40-year-old and I could become and then I'm like, huh. I mean, there's just the information. It's about present time information. Psychic is about being
Yeah.
aligned. So we have a central channel, like not to be inappropriate, but there's a perineum we all have and the top of the head. A lot of the yogis know this. This is not information I'm making up. Central channel. So if you think about yourself as like a straw, I'll think about myself as like a straw, like a drinking straw, like where it's going straight here, straight dead through the center of me, right through my central channel. And cleaning that, making sure that that's not filled up with
Yeah.
like boulders in my second chakra of hurtness and like stuff. I'm like, we got to be the empty vase, like Buddha talks about. Be empty, get empty, forget everything you ever thought you fucking knew, forget everything you ever thought you knew, forget every fucking thing you ever thought you knew. Let go of your memories, let go of your pre-existing assumptions, let go of the information. And that's scary for people. They want to hold on to stuff, they want to have
Oh, it's
knowledge,
scary.
they want to have their story, they want to have their memories. And fair enough, memories can be sentimental and cute and stuff. Are they accurate? Very rarely. Like, so
Yeah.
that's sort of a, it sounded like a personal sacrifice at first. Like, stop memorizing things, stop reading books, stop. That was part of my like thing that occurred to me when I was very early on in this game, is like, stop with all that shit. And I was like, and I love books. I was raised on books at the library. I have them all around my house, but I don't read any of them because I'll be tainted. I will be tainted. I will
Yeah.
open my fucking mouth on your paid time and I will tell you some shit that some man wrote in a book. If
Mhm.
so you just, the discipline is, and I suggest it for most people, although it's challenging to say that.
Yeah.
It depends on what you are trying to do with your life, because,
Yeah.
learning things and getting knowledgeable about things. Like if I needed to do open heart surgery, yeah, I need to get heavily, highly knowledgeable about that. So I say this subjectively, but since it's what is psychic podcast, it's like the emptier
Mhm.
you can be, the better the read's going to
Yeah.
be. No assumptions, no information. I'm just looking at you raw and real time, and that's the only
Yeah.
way you could. I never remembered that guy over 8 years. There's no way
No way.
make that.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way. What I
No.
journal? There's no fucking way.
No. And I think this is why like psychic has always been a threat, right? Because we live sort of the patriarchal society values academia, it values knowledge. And then all of a sudden you have, this maybe psychic is not gender specific. I don't believe that, but maybe more the feminine principle maybe is more drawn to this work. We look at what happened to the witches burned at the stake. We look at the way society has dealt with intuitive people, specifically intuitive women, and so, of course, we're going to make fun of it. Of course, we're going to mock it because we're afraid of it. Because
Mhm.
what do you mean you just know
Mhm.
and not know from a book? Like it's extremely threatening to all things. Like the world would literally crumble if we, which it needs to do. And we're sort of seeing this happening as like consciousness is rising and we're all getting more in tune with our own psychic, because really it's our own intuition, it's our own connection to clearing the central channel, opening the chakras, and actually listening to how we're processing in all of these different places. But I just think it is interesting how society has mocked psychic or made it this Madame Cleo woo woo kind of thing, that we laugh at, because if we really understood it, it would be terrifying, and
That's
it would feel
entirely
like we
correct.
gotta
It'd be theoretically correct.
eradicate this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and there's a lot I want to say right there. Obviously, I always have a lot to say, but one of our, maybe I'm working with one of our common people we know, Alex. I don't think she'd mind me, but I'm like, we need to. I wanted to do this for years. I'm not quite the right person to do it, just with my skill set and my personality and shit. But I want to go through all the media and like get all those clips of how psychic
Mm,
has been depicted. I don't know. I have like a little bit of a
mm,
mini obsession. And alternatively,
mm.
I can't watch some of them. I'll fast forward that
Yeah.
shit. Like I cannot stomach it. It's
Mm,
so
mm.
atrocious. It's just so because I do it. And so then how it's depicted, it makes my stomach turn. I'm like, oh, turn
Yeah,
it off.
totally.
Phoebe on Friends, turn it off. Fucking fast forward it. Fast forward it. So I would love, like, I
Yeah,
don't know who and how and who and people. But I'm like, we need to go and clip them all, and just like have them this back, like, and talk about it.
yeah.
So just that's a personal
Mm.
Aimee thing, being like, does anybody out there know how to do that? Because I'm obsessed with that. I've wanted to do it for 100 years. Don't know how to
Yeah.
approach it. Needs to get done. We need to talk
Yeah.
about how it's depicted so erroneously and
Mm.
not even checked. Do you see? They don't even bother to check it. They just make these statements based on shit they've already heard, and just don't checks and balances it. That's how, like, in my space, I checks and balance myself. I'm all, hang on. But so I just want to get that out there. God, it's one of my things. And of course, it is. I would take it a step further. Not only is psychic or intuition or clairvoyant,
Mhm.
like hokey eyes, made to be hokey, invalidated, just off the jump. They
Mm.
just start with this is invalid. They just start with
Yeah.
it and they go, oh, but
Yeah.
so what's the alternative? If you're not getting the information from present time based on your God given or goddess given or fucking life force energy or center of the universe. I don't know where life comes from. There's a million names for it. Who cares what your fucking belief system around it is? You're alive. That's all we need to know. These are the centers that are meant to process that information. So they just like invalidate it so that they can what? Control your belief system. So if you don't
Yeah.
operate on what you're feeling in present time, and if indeed you are not present with your awareness, right? Like, look, I'm present right here. Here, you could be present. We could be thinking about what we're going to do next, and that would reflect in our conversation. So if you're not present
Mhm.
with your awareness here in your body in present
Mhm.
time, well, what are you operating on then? If you're not in your body in present time, uh,
Mm.
checking in with these gauges, these information processing
Mhm.
centers, what are your, where are you getting your information? What are you operating on? Programmed
Yeah.
mind. You're operating on a fucking
Yeah.
program, and not
Yeah.
one of you out there made the program up. You're operating on patriarchal belief systems that are intended to enslave you, because that is what
Mm.
happens. How many people today are going to go to
Mhm.
work and not want to do their job? And why are people going to do that? Because of fear. So
Yeah.
if you're not in present time, you are operating on your mental body, which is highly programmed and indeed highly programmable, right? How else
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
everybody have the same exact belief systems, even if they're contrasting? Right? How does
Mm.
everybody know to hate themselves? How do we know to go to war? You think fucking consciousness, you think life in and of itself would ever tell us to go to war, would ever resist life itself? That doesn't even make any mathematical or scientific or emotional sense. It's not logical to work against the flow of life. Oh, you're going to go
Mhm.
murder somebody today because of oil and all these crazy things. So it's either
Yeah.
present time awareness and psychic and consciousness, or it's a fucking belief system and you're heavily programmed. There's not two other things going on. It's only that.
Mm. I mean, that feels like the perfect, end to me. Is there anything else you wanna say about psychic? I mean, you just gave us 2 options there, and I think we all know what feels like a better choice.
And what you said feels like a better choice. I guess the
Yeah.
final note I will say is that, and it's a bit happy hour, but oftentimes, right, you have to describe who and what you are. Like, you meet new people, we date new people, like you have to, like, at some point it comes up, well, what do you do for a living? Right? At some point,
Mm.
there's always this moment where I have to answer that question. And it's a fun, wild ride, but it's like I've come to the, and of course this got channeled. I would never have been clever enough to, I might have been vulgar enough. I don't think clever enough to make this up, but they go, this, forgive me, I'm in the memory. They go, okay, well, what do you do for a living? Psychic. Oh, and then they don't know what that even means. Like, I'm a professional psychic. I mean, my brand was psychic. It wasn't another word. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a life coach, and I don't water it down like that. I hit it between the eyes. I'm a
Mm.
clairvoyant. I'm a psychic. That's all I got. That is what I do. That is the fact. I couldn't ascertain this information and do what I do any other fucking way. There's only one way to get the truth. So you can't even fake
Mm.
it or make it up. So I remember this one time, and bear with me, that's where I was going. It's like, it just came through. It's like, okay, it's like an orgasm. Like, a reading is like an orgasm in that
Mm.
we could try to describe it. We could try to describe it, right? But describing an orgasm is nowhere in the neighborhood of having an orgasm. They're very
Yeah.
different experience. We could describe it, right? Oh, I've heard my first boyfriend was like, it feels like you have to pee. I remember that from being like 18 or some shit or whatever, not to put all my guts on blast here, but I guess that's what we're doing. Right. So I feel like that's what a reading is like every psychic is very different and every
Mhm.
clairvoyant is very different. And you can't take anything for granted. You simply have to have the experience of it, especially in
Mm.
this world. If we had had these experiences in school or more normalized, well, we'd have more to draw upon. But it's technically indescribable. You need to have the
Yeah.
experience and then find the healer or psychic that is attuned to you or what you're
Mhm.
trying to heal in that specific time in your life. So it's experiential. We can
Yeah.
describe it, but it's the experience of it is indescribable.
Mm. Perfect. I love it. So when people ask you what you do for a living, you tell them you're a psychic and it's like an orgasm. Is that how you answer that question?
I did one time. Yeah, I did one time and I thought, yeah, that makes the most sense out of everything I've ever tried to attempt to explain. I'm like, well, can you describe the experience of an orgasm? And usually I don't know. I'm not that way in person. In person, I'm just like, what's up? I'm quiet and I'm silent. I sit
Mhm.
back. I mind my business. I don't run my
It's
mouth.
true.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah, it's true.
whatever. But yeah, that one stuck with me from way back where it
Right.
was like, I'm like, well, I don't know. You can't describe the experience of it. You could, but
Yeah.
it's not the same in any way, shape, or form. You have to have the
No.
experience of it.
No.
You have to be with the energy flowing. You have to be with the
Mm.
healing of it. And it is a healing.
Mm.
I particularly use it as a healing we move energy. So anybody that's on a call with me, it's not just about the
Mhm.
words and the information, it's about the amount of energy we're going to move.
Yes.
And if it's me, I like to move a mountain if we can. You come to me,
Yeah.
we're going to get the maximum. I'm talking the fucking maximum amount done
Yeah.
in that 30 or 60 minutes. That's just my style. That's just my way. And I wouldn't say I'm for everybody. I'm distinctly not everybody's flavor. That's
Yeah.
why it's good to know what the fuck you're looking for. Don't go to a psychic trying to get them to prove anything to you. Go prepared to prove some
Mm.
shit to
Yeah.
yourself. And that's
Yeah.
another thing I'll say quite quickly is like
Mm.
that the burden of proof does not fall on the one who knows. I don't doubt this. I know this. I bet my whole fucking life on this job. All my money comes from this. My whole life is I bet on this. I know this to
Mm.
be true. I have seen it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. There is no doubt. And if I am wrong ever, I will tighten that shit up. I will learn and I will clean that up. So I know that if it comes out in a
Mm.
session, it is highly fucking accurate. It is highly workable. You go do it
Yeah.
and you're going to get the result that we say. And oftentimes people have to blindly just do it. They have to just, I'm like, write this down, go do this, right? Because that's the whole point. You're not coming to a seer if some shit you already see. You're coming to a seer
Mm.
for some shit you can't see. That's the whole fucking entire premise of it. So
Yeah.
I teach my students and my closest, I go, hey, if they doubt, that's their doubt. It's not, I don't bear the burden of their doubt. Say Bob
Yeah.
comes in and is like, I don't believe you. I doubt you. I doubt you. I'm like, that ain't my fucking problem, bro. Ask your goddamn
Mm.
question. I'll fucking answer it. Do your homework. And then you can dispel your own doubt. Their doubt is not my
Mm.
burden. Nobody's doubt is,
Mm.
right? That's really crucial. And this is
Mm.
challenging
Yeah.
this is not that relevant for the average person other than clean your shit up before you come in. If you have doubt, well, I don't know, do what you need to do to dispel your doubt. Do what you need to
Yeah.
do to make that hour that you're paying for the most valuable hour of your, or not. Or come to me and say,
Mm.
I need to prove something to you. That is not my burden to bear. Ask your fucking question. I will
Mm.
answer the fucking thing and it will be accurate. I don't bear the burden of doubt. I do my
Yeah.
job. And that's the same thing.
Mm.
Imagine if it was in construction or imagine if it was some man made field. Imagine if some
Yeah.
woman walked into a construction site and said, I don't believe that your 90-degree angle is going to work, or I don't believe your truss is going to bear the weight. I don't making crap up. I don't know crap. See, I don't know. Imagine though, the reverse.
Yeah.
Imagine as a man walks into my world and says, you are ridiculous. I don't believe you. You have to prove to me something. That is demonstrably false. I don't need to prove anything to
Yeah.
anybody. Ask your
Yeah.
question. I'll answer it and you
Mm.
go prove it to yourself if you're brave enough to do your homework, if you're brave enough to ask the question in the first place. So I really like that for healers and
Mm.
women at large. The man's doubt in you is not yours to bear. That is his to deal with, his emotions, his
Yeah.
belief system. In this case, I'm using men and women just because of the patriarch and how psychic has been directly invalidated and directly misrepresented. In fact, I'd love to give John Oliver a holler out. It was a trash piece he did on that. And I'm not even trying to be political. He does great work, I think. Unwatchable, because they don't bother to fucking like dig deeper. They don't bother to ask more questions. They make an assumption, they make a projection, and then they try and get the other person to rise to the occasion of that assumption projection.
Mhm.
I wouldn't stand with that. You guys know what you do. I know what I do. You do what you do, and you do it to an extremely high level. You make
Mhm.
sure that the effort you're putting into it is to keep it clean and high quality. This is a lifestyle I must live in order to be able to read 4 or 6 people every day accurately. I mean, it's
Mhm.
that's an extremely challenging task. So my lifestyle must accommodate
Yeah.
me being able to do that. But the doubt is not mine. And I personally, and
Mm.
I suggest to all of you out there, do not carry it. It's their burden.
Yeah.
They can do the work that they need to dispel it.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that last piece. That feels really powerful and necessary for those that need to hear it.
In all
Yeah.
modalities, whether you're Reiki, whether you're
Yeah.
whatever kind of energy work or whatever kind of intuitive, whatever kind of tarot
Mm.
work or whatever kind of, right? When they come at you and say, I don't believe in you, well, if you believe in you, that's really the task of the day. It's irrelevant
Mm.
beyond that what other people's belief
Mm.
system is, and you don't need to fucking you don't need to accommodate that. You don't need to bend and
Yeah.
shift and change and try and make it more likable. You need to get
Mhm.
clean and clear on what you are doing, and you need to do what you are doing with impeccability, with integrity, and that you're doing it to the highest of your ability. That's your only obligation that fucking
Yeah.
day. Everybody else will work their
Yeah.
shit out if and when they want.
Mm. Perfect. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, my loves.